Well, here we are. There's only one more episode left after this. And I gotta ask you, for an episode that was definitely over an hour of actual content,
Mm.
I gotta ask you if you just thought this was an episode full of your dreaded filler
It
content.
was it was pretty fluffy.
Fluffy? Fluffy?
It was fluffy full of filler. So, I
Yeah.
mean, it's not like it was bad or anything. It just did we need it to be an hour and 25 minutes or whatever it was? Like that I don't think that was necessary.
Yeah, there was a lot. I mean, there were a lot of both heavy and touching moments with the
Yeah.
Cowboys. The Rip asking Lloyd to stay. Um, that I thought it was a little touching for Monica to say, "Let me go get John's body, so you and Kayce don't have
Yeah.
to deal with that." Things like that. So there were like touching moments and heartfelt
Mm.
moments, but there was nothing that really got us along to what we can theoretically expect in the finale.
Yeah, nothing really that furthered the plot that much. I mean, I guess the auction was a step in that, but
Hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah, and especially the way the last episode ended, and I see people hopping on, so by all means, drop your comments below and let us know what you thought of the episode tonight. Um, I, I thought, the way the last episode ended, I thought we would, touch back on Kayce and Mo and how that was left off with the assassin. But Mo and Rainwater, we see them in the initial where they're kind of overseeing this
Yeah.
pipeline construction, and then they disappeared, and we never saw them again. So
Yeah,
I,
they
I
had the
am,
30-second scene.
yeah, I am ripped. I am ripped from seeing the the Native American character subplot yet again. One episode they're there, the next episode they're gone.
You're ripped, no pun intended.
No pun intended, indeed. Yeah. Um, One thing I thought was, oh, and another tender moment that kind of like, okay, that's okay, I could deal with that, is when Teeters tore up about
Yeah.
Colby being gone, and Walker goes in to talk to her, and at first she's mad, like you should have killed that horse,
Mm,
and Walker comforts her, and Lloyd comes in and she scares Lloyd off, but then he comes back with
mm.
Colby's hat. So that kind of was that kind of also was a little bit of a heartfelt moment as well.
Yeah, just to see her struggle, like, I knew she was gonna have a hard time when she got back to the bunkhouse, so, yeah, I mean, I feel like that might be an ongoing thing, well, ongoing as in the next episode,
Yes.
but yeah, it's like, I mean, they have literally one more episode of the series. They didn't say like, "Oh, 2-hour finale next week." They didn't say anything like that. So, can we assume it's going to be an hour, maybe a little over an hour? They're going to wrap up the entire series in over an hour.
Yeah.
How are they going to do that?
And especially because as we move into however, I feel like this is 2 episodes in a row now. We
Mm.
have not seen any progression of what the Jamie's comeuppance is going to be.
Yeah, it's just kind of like leading to that, right? It's
Yeah,
the fact that he met with his baby mama, he went to her for help.
that's what I wrote her name down as too, because I couldn't remember the character's name.
I could not remember what her name was, and I when he rolled up and he was talking to her outside in the car, I was like, "That's the." I didn't even know who she was at first. I was
Hmm.
like, "That's gotta be his baby mama, right?" I had to
Yeah,
kind of use deductive reasoning to figure it out.
yeah, I recognized her. I just by we haven't probably seen her in like a season and a half, so her name was completely out,
And
which means we haven't seen her in like 2 years,
was
2.5
she
years.
oh no, probably 3 at this point.
Yeah,
Was she some sort of PR chick? Like, I can't even remember.
she was his campaign manager.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
why he was looking for her advice. Okay.
Yeah. I think that was when he was trying to push for his own gubernatorial campaign, and then John
Yeah,
stepped in, and that was when John stepped in. Yeah. Um,
right.
and I felt what I thought interesting about that scene was, if I could find it in my notes, she kind
Yeah.
of um advises him to and she kind of advises him to step off this egotistical march that he's on, whether that's in relation to his attorney general role or his ambitions to go to start launch his own gubernatorial race.
Mm.
I feel like she kind of advised him to step off of that and be like, what you need to do is tie yourself to John's agenda, your father's agenda, as much as humanly possible to make you seem endearing to his voters and his cause and the people of the state.
Right. She said basically like deny the affair, say you're gonna avenge them, make it look like Sarah did it so that it stays buried with her.
And she was very, very upset when she asked him if he reported
Right.
her, and he was like, "Oh no, I didn't." And she's like, "Look at like she has this like, are you an idiot?" look on her face.
Yeah, well, she clearly well, he says, "Oh, well, I look complicit." She said, "Jamie, you are
Yeah,
complicit."
no fooling, dummy.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I noticed is he couldn't like he's over here asking for her help, and you would think he would be completely transparent for once in his life, and she
Mm,
asks him like, are they gonna find your DNA on her? Are they gonna find your DNA in her? And he couldn't even give her a truthful answer. So
yeah.
automatically he's going in like trying to seek her help, trying to seek her assistance in getting out of this mess, and he can't even like give her a full transparent image of the situation.
Well, it was almost to me like was he, since Sarah's dead now, is he like not wanting to ruin his chances with his baby mama? Like I was wondering that if that's the reason why he was like being kind of avoidant, like not wanting to own up to that, is because like he was thinking maybe he has a chance now.
Mm-hmm. Jamie Dutton, the consummate horn dog.
Oh my god.
And I find it interesting, like when they part ways, and she says like your political future is tied. She says you
Right.
got to hold the pressure, and your political future is tethered to this speech. I feel like I almost feel like I don't think this is gonna happen because I don't think Beth would ever forgive him. Uh, Even without his ties to John's death, I don't think Beth would ever forgive him.
Yeah.
However, uh, it almost made me wonder if the door is open for him to like reinstate all the things John put in place to preserve the ranch and create some kind of a intermediary kind of a truce of sorts.
Where like he's going to try to save the ranch.
Yeah, like reinstate all of John's policies that he put in place, and then now all of a sudden the pressure that Beth and Rip and Kayce are feeling to drive up all this revenue to save the ranches may not be necessary because it'll be back in the conservation easement or what have you.
Yeah, it's possible.
Yeah, that I kind of wondered if that's what they're setting up, and I'm like, I guess that for once that would be a selfless act by Jamie. It would be nice to see him do it, but I don't think that's going to preserve his relationship with his siblings whatsoever, especially if there's anything that they get of confirmation of his ties to Sarah and the assassin.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything that's going to ever make it right, but maybe he can at least leave the ranch in their hands kind of, and then like
Hmm.
he'll just kind of go, retreat to his corner of the universe and live a separate life, from them.
Yeah. People hopping on, let us know in the comments what you think of the episode tonight, and we will most certainly answer your questions on air. I thought another topic of this, I don't know if it was Taylor Sheridan just kind of pumping his chest out, literally, if not figuratively.
Seemed kind of like it.
Yeah, it kind of felt like a good half the episode kind of felt like the Travis show.
Yeah, I think you know, I know he started as an actor, so it kind of seems like, you know, he wasn't getting parts and that's why he started writing. And with him having a more prominent role in Lioness lately, and then also like we've seen Travis in earlier seasons of Yellowstone for sure, but I feel like we've never focused on him that much. And even having that backstory of how Rip and Travis are friends, like yeah, it was a nice little story. Like I thought that why can't I think of his name? Cole Hauser? Is that
yeah.
Cole Hauser, the way he told that story, you really freaking believe that he is friends with this. Like the way he told the story, it was just like your friend telling this story at a bar. Like it was just so believable and so real. The way he did that was amazing. But I was like, do we really need this? Like, does this episode really need to be 90 minutes basically? Like, and I don't know if I don't know, you probably didn't notice because I don't know if you're as in tune with celebrities, but there was a random cameo.
Oh.
Do you know a random celebrity cameo? And I was second guessing it. I put it in my notes and I went on X to verify that I was correct. I was like, that's not who I think it is it? So the dark-haired girl who, when he's at the house and Beth, you know, storms in there, and this girl, before they head to the auction, this girl says, oh, do you want to ride or something? And she's like, oh, do you work for Travis or something? She's like, no, I don't work for him. I'm his girlfriend.
Yeah.
That is Bella Hadid, who is a supermodel. And what's kind of funny about that is she's currently dating a guy who's like a professional cowboy. So she is a professional cowboy girlfriend right now. So I thought that was funny that Taylor Sheridan was like, oh, I'm going to make this supermodel my girlfriend on the show. B, that he like was flexing his actor muscle like in a big way. Like you're using the last 2 episodes of your show ever to feature yourself. It's kind of a narcissistic move. I hate to say it, right?
Seemed like that.
Is this the best usage of time?
Actually, it's funny. I did recognize her, but I couldn't place her in something else, so I just kind of like wrote it off in my brain. But I did recognize her face. I just had no idea where to put it.
Yeah, because she's not an actress.
Yeah. Maybe she must have been like Sports Illustrated way back in the day.
It's like, so he really, like, not only did he want to feature himself and like act in his own show, he also like made himself like a I don't even know who to compare him to. Like who is that guy?
Channing Tatum, Glenn Powell.
No, like there's like this rich guy who was known for like partying with like 30 supermodels. Like I think he would post pictures online, like all the girls would be like naked. He'd be like, oh, we're on my yacht today. Like, what was his name? Dan something? You know who this is?
No, I'm not coming up with the imagery at the moment.
Or think of somebody like Andrew Tate or something, who's just like constantly has girls around. Like that's who like that's who the character of Travis was like. They were making it out to be, that he's some like big partier, and like he, you know, he had all these chicks at this party and he's got a supermodel girlfriend and all this stuff, you know?
Yeah, when he says, when Beth asks him, like, what are you going to do now? It's like, I just sold the horse for $3 million. I'm going to live it up for the night.
Yeah, so it's like he casts himself in this like Playboy light, and it's just like, really? It was kind of an eye roll for me.
Yeah, the poker scene, it kind of brought it, like, for all the egotistical and narcissistic
Yeah.
aura that he was putting off. The poker game kind of brought him back a little bit when, Beth's about to be like, okay, I lost. Here we go.
Yeah.
You better remember this will be the last thing you see. And he's like, no, save it for Rip. Of course I'm going to help. And she's like,
Yeah.
what? Why'd you do this? I'm like, I just wanted to fuck with you.
Yeah. That was kind of funny.
Yeah.
That he was gonna do it. He was just messing with her. But yeah, and then I wasn't sure if you remember how like outside the house or something, there was that guy on the bench that she was talking to. Was he like a famous cowboy or a famous person? Or I wonder.
I was trying to recognize him because his face did seem familiar to me. His face did seem to. I was trying to recognize him, and I couldn't place his name somewhere, or his name. Excuse me, the actor's face.
I don't know. I wonder if I question if he was an actor even. Like I wonder if he was a cowboy or some sort of person in that universe because I don't know, just the way it was shot and like he had like only a few lines, but I don't know. I just something about it made me think that he wasn't an actor, but that he was somebody who was in that world.
Mm-hmm. Oh. Hello, El Guapo. Thank you for hopping on with us. And
Series finale is an hour and a half. Okay,
Mhm.
hopefully less filler this time. Like if they're gonna
Yeah.
wrap it up, I hope they wrap it up with stuff that's important, like stuff that we want to tie up the loose ends of.
Yeah, I feel like there's so much to tie up at this point. I don't think there can be any filler in the finale.
God, I hope so.
And especially because the rumor for any continuation of Yellowstone is going to be like spin-offs, that
Right.
sort of thing. So I mean that just really puts the onus on you need to put a bow on this now.
Yeah, and I wonder if I don't think the an hour and 45 minutes. Oh man. Yeah. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, I just think that I don't think they've released any sort of trailer for the 4/6s show yet, but I did think my assumption would be that they were going to have all of the Cowboys work there, but then Jimmy was like, "Oh yeah, we're not hiring" or something because the Cowboys were talking to each other, when Jimmy and his girlfriend were sitting there, and
Yeah.
they were like, "Oh, what about the 4/6s? Are they hiring?" And he's like, "No, I don't think so." So it made it seem like none of them are going to go there. But I mean, I guess maybe knowing what we know at the end with Kayce's thing, the fact that they do have more time, maybe like that's not even going to be a thing. Maybe the 4/6s cast is going to be completely separate.
Yeah. Yeah. But and it could be a spin-off like that, like maybe the Cowboys, because the audience is probably like we felt with Colby's death, the audience has felt a connection to the Cowboys. So maybe the Cowboys will be one spin-off at 4/6s, and then the Duttons and Rip will be something completely different.
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, I still haven't heard much about like the supposed Rip and Beth spinoff or whatever it was.
Which I didn't know that was going to be a spinoff. The first time I heard the rumor, I thought it may be just like the show continuing in a different form. But I'm actually kind of glad that if that does happen, it would just be a spinoff and not Yellowstone.
I mean, I could see them doing a prequel too. You know how they did with my mom and I were just talking random. We were just talking about that young Sheldon show about like George and Mandy or whatever that's doing pretty successful right now. Like, what if they did like a elaborate prequel? Yeah, young Beth and Rip or something.
Bethany and Rip's first marriage.
Or it's like Dutton teens.
Dutton teens, yeah, young Kayce.
Yeah, Dutton kids.
Yeah. The one thing I did want to note about Rip's story about how he and Travis became friends.
Yeah.
I'm watching that and I keep getting what it reminded me of is there's a scene in Twister, the original Twister movie, where they're explaining to Bill Paxton's fiance about like, well, it's like, why do you call him the extreme, that sort of thing. And they started listing off this story of how he walked out drunk off his ass and he's yelling at a tornado, and he's like, have a drink, throws the bottle into the tornado, and it never hits the ground. And that just like the tone of Rip telling the story of Travis, it was like almost 1-to-1 exact cadence from that story in Twister. So I'm like, I kind of brought back nostalgia, even though I was kind of like, they just copy Twister in that.
Yeah, well, it really painted a picture. Like the way he told it, it was like he was, it was like someone was genuinely telling a story and then like remembering the details. And as they remembered it, they were like, it was funny how
Yeah.
it was, that scene was just like amazing the way he did that. Made it seem so realistic.
Right. I think like the big star of this episode, because I feel like we've had, some episodes. Everyone hopping on right now, thanks for joining. Please drop your comments below, and we will answer them on air about the episode tonight. I thought like we've had an episode focused on Rip and the Cowboys. We've had an episode focused on Kayce. We've had an episode, even though it feels like it was eons ago now, more focused on Jamie. This one felt like it was kind of Beth's episode.
Yeah.
There was the Travis thing, which we already touched on. And then there was also her as a consoling figure to Teeter. And I kind of thought, like, because obviously Beth showed a ton of emotion in the premiere when they handled John's death the way they did. And I feel like it was kind of brought back to that. One, Monica offers to go get John's body, and then she goes into the the bunkhouse, which I thought was a little funny, and she consoles Teeter. It's like, you know what makes me feel better when I'm down? I go out on the town, I get wasted, and I go make tourists feel like they're shriveled up. So I thought that was like, you see Beth as a more consoling figure. I mean, I guess kind of a continuation of how she had to console Carter. So now she's consoling Teeter instead.
Yeah, and I feel like she's starting to become more of a motherly figure, like to Teeter. And then she had that moment with Carter where they sold all the horses and the cattle, or it was just the horses maybe, and he was like, well, what am I supposed to do now? Like, he was asking her what his tasks are, and she's like, well, I guess you can sleep in now. And she like kisses him on the cheek and walks away.
Yeah.
Like, now you can be a real teenager, maybe.
Yeah. Which is funny, because when I think he was talking to Lloyd. Rip must have been talking to Lloyd, and it was like, what do we do now? It's like, well, let's work, because we got so few work days left. So then when Beth tells Carter, it's like, well, sleep in now. It's kind of like, where's the instruction really going here?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone knows, because they just don't know. Like, the work feels like it's drying up, so they just don't know when their last day is going to be.
Yeah. And the other part of Beth, and it kind of is an aha moment for her, when she's talking with Kayce at the end, and Kayce asks her, it's like, hey, you've got this car that's worth a lot of money. And everyone hopping on right now, if you watch the episode right tonight and have your thoughts, please drop your comments below. We will answer them on air and respond to your questions and thoughts of the episode. Kayce has this aha moment. He sees her fancy car, and she says, like, it's not worth anything. It's a lease. But it's like, okay, if you did own it, how much? 300 grand. What if I gave you $1 for it? Is that legal? It's like, it would be incredibly stupid, but yes, it's legal. It's like, okay, well, the taxes on that, are the taxes what it's valued at, or what I paid for it? And she was like, well, it would be what you paid for it. It's like, okay. So he kind of walks away, and all of a sudden Beth's like, what? Why did I think of it? You know what I mean? That she like runs, she like chases down Kayce and Monica. And so I'm almost kind of thinking that they're gonna find some old deed from when the ranch was was like made official under the family's name, and find out like what they actually paid for it, which I don't think was ever addressed in like 1923 or even 1883 for that matter. I don't think that was ever addressed, but I'm kind of wondering if like there's an old piece of government paperwork that says what the Dutton family paid for the ranch. It'd be like, well, you can't charge us taxes on what you say the ranch is worth. Now you have to charge it on this, which, who knows? It could be 3 mules and a cow for all we know.
Or, well, I love the quote that she said, "You're smarter than you look, little brother."
Yeah. And then Tate's in the back seat and he goes, and Tate's
Yeah,
in
what
the
does he
back
say?
seat. He goes, it's like, well, that's not saying much. The Tate
Yeah, I think I
one-liners
remember.
continue.
Yeah, and I don't know. So when Kayce got, I don't know if it's like the very last thing he says in the episode. So basically, he's like, "Yeah, the only way to save this place is to give it away." So that made me think of like, okay, well, who could they sell it to that they could then buy it back from? What about rainwater? What about the Native Americans? They could, like, if they had an understanding with them.
Oh,
There's Kayce's little bromance with Mo.
yeah.
Maybe they could have some sort of agreement with the Indians, like, you buy it, we'll buy it back from you. Like, you're going to do this to help us out.
Yeah, and the interest, that's it. I was actually almost thinking you went a different direction than I was thinking. You were gonna say they sell it to Rip, but I guess that's probably harder because he has no chronic documented history as a human being. So
Yeah,
that's probably a much more logical scenario to work out a deal with Rainwater, Mo, and the native tribe and sell it to him. That's probably much
Yeah, I
more
don't know if
logical.
anyone on here has that same thought, or like, okay, so if he's saying the only way to save it is to give it away and then like buy it back, who would they have this exchange with or deal with? Like, well, do you think Jamie would be the one to help them do that?
I mean, I think he could be, but I don't think they would go near him with a 10-foot pole
I
to
mean, I don't
rely on
think
him
he
for
would be
that.
their first or last choice. Like, I mean, I'm just trying to think of like who could the candidates be for that. Like, I think the Native Americans would be perfect.
Right, because their allies are getting so few and far between now.
And the fact that they had that scene at the beginning of the episode, and that was all that they were. That could have been foreshadowing. It
Yeah.
could be that they didn't have much of a presence in the episode, so that you don't even consider them in the end, because they say they're looking at the construction of the pipeline or whatever it is, and then they're talking about their Mo says something about like going to war, and Rainwater says we've already been at war for 160 years. Our side just stopped fighting. So hello.
Right. Yeah, and which would be an
Right.
interesting kind of twist of fate to say like because he is downtrodden when he says that. So
Yeah.
to say like our people stopped fighting and then it results in an olive branch of sorts from the Dutton family to kind of appease both sides here.
Right. Like, the fact that Beth kind of says they made 30 million from the auction. She's saying essentially we could buy a year of time probably.
Yeah, because she tells Monica, because Monica I think is under the impression that this is gonna be enough money to solve the problems, and Beth says like this is not a solution. This is just buying us time until we figure out
Right.
the solution. Yeah.
Yeah. So it sounds like they've kind of figured out a solution. I wonder if, with that aha moment, if Kayce had anyone in mind, or if he's just like, that's what we have to do. I don't know how we're going to do it, but that's just the objective of what we have to do.
Yeah, it's got to be someone not connected to the family. Like, well, Tate's not even old enough anyway, probably. But like, I don't think they could do it. I don't think they could sign over to Tate because he would be in the will anyway, or the
Yeah, it
trust,
would
I
have to
should
be
say.
someone that's not in the family. I'm just trying to think of like I feel like the Indians would be the best choice, but like I'm trying to think. I wonder if they would bring anyone back from like, you know how shows love to do that shit.
Mm-hmm.
They, you know, it's terrible, but this is not a equal comparison by any means. But some show like Pretty Little Liars that like, you know, they had the villain was A the whole time. And then I don't want to give any spoilers for people who haven't watched it, even though it's years past. But basically at the end of the show, like it was some stupid explanation for who A was. You're like, you know, it's one of those situations like a soap opera where it's like, oh, the person who did that this whole time was so and so's evil twin. It's
Mm-hmm.
like I'm like, if they bring someone out of the woodwork to be like, you know, someone from the first season that like we haven't seen in 6 years, I'm gonna be really pissed off.
Summer. No, I kid.
Do you know I've been seeing stuff online that people think that Summer has or is having John Dutton's baby, and it's a whole thing.
What? Stop.
Yeah, there's some people that think that.
That is a rabbit hole theory.
I mean, I hope they're like she's not even significant. She wasn't even significant enough to bring up in the a few episodes ago. So I can't see that happening, but you never know.
I hope it's someone that makes sense, and we don't have another Bran ascends the Iron Throne situation.
Oh God, please. I can't. My heart can't deal with that.
I can't take two beloved series doing that to me.
Well, you know what? How this last episode goes is really, really important because it's going to make or break things. Like you know, I know that we are 20 years, maybe not 20 years past the finale of The Sopranos. People still talk about the finale, good or bad.
Yeah.
They still talk about it. So how they wrap it up in like that last scene and whether people feel satisfied or whether they're like, okay, this was total dog shit. That's going to determine like how people view the show going forward. It's, you know, how Jamie's baby mama was talking about, well, the only reason I'm doing this is because we share a child and your legacy is part of his legacy. And that's how I feel about this show. It's like, you know, how it goes in the end is what its legacy is going to be going forward. People are going to be like, oh yeah, Yellowstone was a good show until it turned into absolute dog shit. You know?
One scene determines whether you're Breaking Bad or Shameless.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes.
So before we speak on what to expect,
yeah,
let's have a lighthearted moment with some funny quips or scenes. The first one that actually made me laugh a good amount was when Jamie calls Beth, and we're thinking like he must be really desperate if he's calling Beth. And she looks down at his phone and it says "fuck card" on the screen.
I was literally just gonna say that. I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah. And then and of course, like he goes typical Jamie mode and he threatens her. Yeah, it's like I know our father's secrets. I know your secrets. I know Kayce's secrets. I know it all. And she goes like, you know, unlike you, I keep my promises. So it's right back to their little rivalry thing. We already kind of touched on Beth and Teeter's outing, but I thought that was funny when she's ripping apart that one guy that, you know, the guy that went to Yale or Harvard or whatever. He tears him apart. It's like, oh, do you want to try the next one? Down your drink. Let's get ready. He walks over and Teeter stands up and he goes like, I'll shove your head so far up your ass or whatever she says. I'm just like, and Beth's like, Teeter, maybe this isn't the game for you.
And the guy says something about like he insults Teeter and is basically like, oh, I didn't know that something about Tourette's syndrome.
Yeah, it's like, oh, isn't it nice to bring the girl with Tourette's to the bar or something like that?
Yeah, and then when they go to the bar, Teeter's like, oh wow, this is a nice place. And Beth is just like, yeah, it's just full of garbage people. she's like, well, these are garbage people. And you know, it's just funny that the attitude she had.
Well, Beth does hang enough around the circuits of the seedy underworld of corporate people. So,
Oh, and then when Rip ended the story about Travis with how many friends you got like that.
Yeah. And Beth goes like, just you.
Yeah, Beth had a I don't know, it was when she was talking to Travis, maybe. I can't remember. She's like, I'd rather sip gasoline, or I forget. I couldn't write that one
Yeah,
down.
yeah.
Beth had kind of like some witty comebacks that because I don't have captions on live TV, I can't always get down what these quotes are.
Yeah. That whole poker scene was pretty funny though. Like
It
what it's like
was,
what do you
yeah.
have to, yeah, what do you have to bet? And obviously she's wearing one of her skimpy dresses and her boots, that's all
Yeah.
she's got. And it's like, well, you're throwing something down too. It's like I'm throwing down the commission. I've got enough on the table. I'm already all in.
Yeah, well, Rip was like, "Don't say I didn't warn you. I told you."
Thank you, El Guapo, for hopping on again. I would be very, very happy if season 2 of 1923 got going, because if memory serves correctly, that left on quite the big cliffhanger.
There was a new trailer out. Maybe I meant to watch it and I didn't. I think it's coming back in February. If I'm, yeah, there should be a new trailer out now that came out the other day. But
February would be a good pickup.
they are re-airing after this episode of Yellowstone. They
Yeah,
are re-airing season 1 of 1923, which I really liked. I like what's his that Spencer?
Spencer. Yeah,
I like Spencer
Spencer
Dutton because
Dutton.
he's the guy from that awful uh Blake Lively movie he made that movie great. It Ends With Us.
It ends with us.
Yeah, that whole controversy over did you miss that whole controversy with the Blake Lively movie?
Probably yes.
Yeah, it was a whole PR disaster. Your kudos to you for avoiding that because it was everywhere.
I live under a rock when it comes to tabloid rumors.
I
I
don't know
won't
how
deny it.
I don't know how you dodged that, but yeah, he was the only good thing to come out of that movie. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing more Spencer Dutton. It's been way too long.
Yeah, that was good. I wasn't too big on 1883, but 1923 more than made up for it.
1883, the daughter, like I couldn't deal with her, like her drawl. The narrator girl,
Yeah.
I couldn't deal with it. I'm a terrible person.
So I guess that brings us to the big question: what can we expect in this finale? Now, well, my first of all, now the gears are working. I really hope your theory is right about rainwater, because that really would be the most logical solution, as well as the one to really bring the series as full circle as it can get without John.
Yeah, wouldn't that be the perfect ending? I'm gonna be so disappointed if it's something else, unless it's something even better than that, which I don't know what that would be, but I mean, I can't imagine I was the one to like figure that out. If that is the thing, like I can't imagine because usually like, well, my husband's not watching this part of Yellowstone with me, but whenever we watch a show, he's always the one who's like he's like, I bet this is going to happen and this is going to happen. And he's like, then we watch it and he ends up being right and he's always right. And he's like, yeah, I write these shows. We joke around that he's on the writing staff for all these shows because he foresees all this stuff coming. I don't usually. So I would be very surprised if I were correct because that would be amazing foresight. Like when I was watching the episode, I wrote down that last quote that like we have to sell it. But then when we were just talking, it came to me like, what if it were the Native Americans who bailed them out of that? And it was like a win-win for both parties.
Hey, you know what? We're internet famous, so pat yourself on the back sometimes. You could be the I said it first,
Man, if I'm gonna toot my own horn so hard if I'm right. Oh, you're dancing on the ceiling. Uh-oh, I can't hear you. Okay, El Guapo. Casey's going to sell it to Rainwater. Casey wants nothing to do with the ranch and doesn't want to buy it back. Yeah, I could see it happening. With the Rainwater, Native Americans, perfect. Oh, I think Nutmeg is having some technical issues. Should we wrap up? Oh, still can't hear.